Alright, so we're going to go ahead and make another new conceptual mass here and show some of the other functionality with the create form button and some of the cool things you can do with it. So there's an introduction of reference points, which once you start to build kind of iterative and parametric design models, the ability to have a point is really powerful. So I'm going to go in and drop some reference points here, and now we've got this nice ability to select them and stitch a spline through them. So you can say spline through points. Select that, and now those point objects are drivers for that curve, and it keeps that history, which it didn't have before, which is really quite nice. And then we can also go into the element properties of the point and tell it to not be a driving point. So all these things are in the properties of the point itself. And we just took it out of the curve. So that's how you can start to manage that. We can also host points on a curve, which is a really nice functionality. So you see it associates to it, and you can see visually the point's smaller. So this point can kind of travel along the curve and is driven by the curve, where this one is driving the curve. And that gets me to being able to do things like lofting and that type of work, or I'm sorry, sweeping. So you can select that curve, and that's my new work plane. I don't have to set it. I can come in now and make a rectangle, and I draw on there. Line is slightly off axis. We'll still see some of our regular Revit errors that we're used to, and it's hosted by this point. So if I drag that, you see the kind of shapes on there, which is really nice. So let's select the shape, select our curve, and we'll hit create form, and it's going to sweep across. So the software intuits what we want to do based on the kind of inputs we give it. And in later videos I'll show you how it deals with some of the tricky scenarios where there could be multiple options. It deals with it quite nicely. But we still have direct manipulation on this. If I hit spacebar, I get the global kind of manipulator, I think they're calling it in Revit, and I can manipulate this geometry. So I can select points and do local manipulations to a point. If I hit spacebar, you can see they're normal. So if I wanted to move along that edge, this is how the way you can constrain things by edge and max and that type of functionality. So it's really quite nice. And you can also start to add profiles and add edges. So let's add an edge in this case. I'll add an edge right there, and now I can pull. I'll hit spacebar to get my global coordinates. Oh, that one's having a little bit of a tricky time with it, but I can pull this out a bit, and you can see I added that whole edge of geometry. Not to say this is an elegant form, but just it's pretty amazing to see this type of stuff in Revit now. And I just clicked and added a profile. If I select it and go to X-ray, that profile's there. And I'll tab to that particular point. Let me just get to it. There it is. And we'll pull that point out. Oh, let's cancel that. So Revit still won't let us make geometry that's kind of that's kind of nasty, which is actually, I think, kind of a good thing. So let's come in and try to push this one just a little bit. So there we go. That one it was able to do. So just some of the things you can do with the loft and direct manipulation. I'll show some more direct manipulation functionality, but I know for me it's pretty exciting and pretty interesting to see that we can make this sort of stuff in Revit now, because that was tricky to do before. And just to show that the associativity remains there, I'll go back to X-ray and manipulate our original base curve. Let's see if I can get to one of this reference point and pull that, and let's see what that does. So system still updates, so kind of fully parametric and fully associative, and then it's trying to keep clean geometry. So if there's any questions on these things, feel free to post them, and again, like I said in the previous video, let's get the conversation going about these new tools.